Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today we got the second official sneak peek for the upcoming update, which appears to be centered around the X-Men. Now we got Storm, we have the leak of Jean Grey that hasn't been officially confirmed yet, and now we have this third one which says, brace yourselves agents, the next update is sure to be as cold as ice. So this is actually really exciting. It seems as though we're going to be getting Tier 3 Loki, which is nice because he'll be able to pair with new Fat Thor. In addition, he's a Universal Tier 3, so we'll get our third Universal Tier 3 of the year. And we'll also get our third Villain Tier 3, which is really exciting. No, I really think that what this means is that we are getting level 70 gear 25 and a uniform for Misty Knight, because she is one of the cold characters in the game and she hasn't had a lot of love in the Defenders, and they're probably going to do sort of a female update with Storm and then Misty Knight and then Jean Grey and kind of make it all about females like they did before with Sharon Rogers and Morgan Le Fay and Luna Snow. Or this could be Tier 4, the very first, you heard it here first guys, Tier 4 Luna Snow being confirmed, the first character to ever be able to take up to Tier 4, and you're actually going to have to take your Tier 3 Sharon Rogers and delete her, and also you will lose all of the uniforms. So you basically have to sacrifice your Sharon Rogers, however she is, and then that will be the way that you Tier 4 Luna Snow. In addition, because Luna Snow is so icy, she will automatically freeze your account, so you won't be able to play unless you purchase a special heater for 1,000 crystals per day, or $3.99 in your local currency to kind of rent this heater to sort of warm up your game so you can play with the super icy Luna Snow. Or it's ICEMAN, which I'm much happier about, and I'm frankly flabbergasted and speechless. Ladies and gentlemen, we finally did it. ICEMAN is coming to Marvel Future Fighter, and if you don't know, I am a big-time ICEMAN fan, so I cannot wait to get him in the game. I'm very excited. I can't wait to see how his skills animate and how strong he is, and I don't really care if he's meta or not. I'm going to be building him up. I'm going to be instantly tier 2ing him, and no doubt in my mind. And, you know, maxing him out. So that should be very fun, and I'm very happy that we're finally getting Bobby and the Ice. But there's a little bit more to it, so I want to talk about that now with you guys. First, I want to discuss briefly what I can speculate, or what I kind of expect for the character. So in my opinion, I do think that while Misty Knight and Luna are both speed types who deal cold damage, I honestly think ICEMAN is tending more towards the blast type, because a lot of other elemental-based characters, especially Human Torch, which would be the closest version of a character like Pyro, a character like ICEMAN. Honestly, even Pyro is not really like ICEMAN. To be completely engulfed in the element like Human Torch is really only like ICEMAN, and so they are blast types. But in addition, you've got Crystal, who's also an elemental type, and she is in the blast class. You've also got Storm, who's another elemental type, also in the blast class. So there's quite a few characters who deal with the elements exclusively or mostly, and they are typed as blast. Even Inferno as well for fire. So it's pretty likely that we are going to see that, and we do see other types having the same property. So even though a lot of fire types are blast, a lot of fire types are also universal. You know, you've got Ghost Rider, Ghost Panther, Ghost Rider Robbie Reyes, Hellstorm, Satana. So I know that the elements are not restricted to one particular class or one particular type. You know, you've got a lot of universals that deal lightning damage, but then you also have Lincoln Campbell who deals lightning damage, and so it kind of bounces around. Even Whiplash as well, although it's not like he's not really generating the lightning the way that Lincoln is. But I do expect, I would guess, if I had to guess, that ICEMAN is going to be blast, but it's usually not a good idea because I've honestly been wrong on most of my guesses for character typing, so he might end up being speed. I doubt he'll be universal though, because no X-Men, no mutants have been universal until now, so I think it's pretty much 50-50 between blast and speed. What's more important is that I wanted to introduce an additional piece of speculation, an additional comic series, run of comics, and I actually encourage you to read this one because it's actually quite a lot more interesting than X-Men Red, which I honestly personally haven't even read. And this is the Uncanny X-Men. And now people have suggested this to me, that it's very possible that this next update is actually based on Uncanny X-Men rather than being based on X-Men Red. And the reason for that is that ICEMAN is not in X-Men Red. He's actually in X-Men Gold or X-Men Blue, I believe. Whereas all of these characters so far, Jean, Storm, and Iceman, are all part of Uncanny X-Men. Now, there's been a lot of runs of Uncanny X-Men. We're talking about the most recent one, which I believe started in like November or December of last year. So it's very, very recent. I think they did up to 18 issues, but really I focused on the first 10 issues, which is where you see all of these characters. And I don't want to spoil the climax of issue 10 because something crazy actually happens. But it's a pretty interesting read, and there's a lot of characters pushed and kind of, you know, it's a mega issue and it's a mega run. It was canceled. All of the X-Men episodes and X-Men series and comics have been canceled because of this new Hickman book coming out, Power of X and something else of X, House of X. But I think the Uncanny X-Men idea, and I think that line of thinking is actually stronger and more correct, I would say, and not really correct, but it makes more sense than my X-Men Red idea. And so the Uncanny X-Men, the main group, the core group, we have, of course, Jean Grey and Storm, and we've got the same looks that we've seen from both the sneak peek and the leak, so those are consistent. You also have Iceman, who's there, which confirms and kind of goes in line with the sneak peek from today. You then also have the bearded Nightcrawler, which is the same from X-Men Red. You have Beast. You have Psylocke looking completely different than she does in the video game in Marvel Future Fight. So there's a possibility that Psylocke could get a uniform, which is quite cool. You have Bishop as a brand new character, which would be awesome. He's already in Contest of Champions, and I still have the ice thing on, don't I? My bad. I would love to see Bishop in the game. You also have X-23 with a new look. You have Jubilee. I know a lot of people love Jubilation, so if she was added to the game, that would be dope. Cannonball. But then you have other characters who aren't in every single issue, but they do make their appearances, especially in the final battle. You've got Armor, Glob, Northstar, Pixie, Polaris, Rockslide, Shadowcat, Multiple Man. And then sort of for the bad guys, you have Blob, Omega Red, another type of Magneto. Apocalypse shows up. And then we also have X-Man, which is Cable's son, I believe, or something, Nate Gray. And you also have Legion. Now, some of those names I mentioned, like X-Man, Legion, there's no way we're going to get those in an update. Those characters are far too strong, and they're kind of quite wacky in terms of their power level and their power scaling, that they would be sort of Epic Quest or Native Tier 2. These are like Strife level type characters. They're not going to just casually introduce Legion or casually introduce X-Man because they're just on they're on a whole other playing field, like way above Cable and these other characters. So I don't really have a lot of, I don't really hold out hope to see those characters, but that list at the top, Bishop, the possibility of Jubilee, Cannonball, and then uniforms possibly for Psylocke, Nightcrawler, etc., is a possibility in addition to what we've already thought of, and they can always mix and match. So they could take, for example, Gambit's uniform from X-Men Red, even though he doesn't really make an appearance in the Uncanny X-Men run, and it's quite a short run, but it seems as though this makes a lot more sense, and that's actually quite exciting because it opens up the door to a lot of other characters, and it's a pretty interesting storyline, and so I would like to see them do something in terms of X-Men for a game mode, and I've made this plea before. I've proposed this idea, but having a game mode that is either exclusively for X-Men and exclusively for mutants, or that just benefits mutants greatly, which encourages you to use mutants, would actually be very exciting. We have World Boss, and in the regular World Boss mode, it prioritizes. I mean, not only does it help if you bring universals, because universals don't have a type disadvantage against universals. You also have typing against, for or against elemental or non-elemental type damage, speed types, but we don't really have anything that's mutant specific. We do have some over here, but we don't have anything that really pressures you and really kind of rewards you for playing with mutants. So I think a lot of people would either love to see revamped World Boss modes that prioritized and kind of made it more important to use mutants to build that archetype and to build that kind of subtype of characters, or a brand new game mode, something Danger Room themed, something Savage Land themed. There's so many great environments and so many great locations in X-Men comics and in X-Men history that even casual fans will recognize. And even just going into the X Mansion and the few moments that we've gotten to do that outside the mansion in the Epic Quest are some of the best moments in the game, because you know, you talk about even old school, not necessarily old school, but even older casual MCU fans will remember those original X-Men movies. Even my mom remembers those original X-Men movies, and having that kind of location and that kind of sort of game mode mapped around that sort of stuff, I think would be amazing, and I think the fans would love it. I don't really know exactly what they should do. I obviously have tons of ideas, but none of them specifically would be tailored around X-Men content, but it would be nice to see something specifically for them. Is it a little bit selfish given that we don't have exclusive content for any other types or any other kind of subgroups like Avengers or Inhumans or, you know, anybody else? Yeah, kind of. But I think the X-Men are treated differently in Marvel Future Fight. Rather than just being types of characters, they're given, you know, different images for their stars. Instead of being stars, they're these X's. They're given a different, an entirely different resource to rank them up. We've got Phoenix Feathers and Mcron Crystals and Mcron Shards. And then on top of that, we have a different sub. And I think this is going to be on a lot of players' minds, but you know, they've relegated and they've separated X-Men from the other sub characters to make them more exclusive. So I think the best way to capitalize on this, because we know that with every X-Men update, there's probably going to be at least one paywall character. You know, you go back, the last one was X-Force, we got Juggernaut. Before that, it was Gambit, Nightcrawler, and Sentinel. We got Gambit and we got Sentinel. Before that, it was Infinity Warps. We got Weapon Hex, and so on and so forth. And they're doing that not only to increase the value of the X-Gene sub so that there's more options for you to choose from, because it feels really bad when there's only a couple of options. And remember, I purchased I was one of the first people to purchase the Bio sub when it was just Carnage and Hyperion. So it was like way back in time. So I remember how bad the value was then. But not only do they want to increase the value so they encourage players to purchase this, but also, you know, they can make more and get more out of it. The players can get more out of it and feel as though they're getting more value than just one or two characters. And I hear that a lot from players where they want to get the X-Gene sub, but there's no one to get it for because they really only want one of the characters, and they're going to use rank up tickets anyways, but then they're stuck with 29 days of a sub that they don't really need. So, you know, on the one hand, do I want more paywall characters in every update? I'm kind of 50-50 about it. I know there's a lot of free-to-play players out there who are going to hate me for saying that I'm 50-50 about it, but Netmarble needs to make money. But then on the other hand, it would make more sense if there was content that was tailored for mutants, so that it would make even more sense to get the X-Gene sub. Now, of course, you don't want to gate premium content with premium drops around mutants, because then that makes the game more pay to win. But even content that gives you rewards that are optional but valuable, like a giant boss raid that was only for mutants, that dropped, you know, one specific enhancement kit and had a greater quantity of those enhancement kits, for example. You know, not something that's game breaking, not like CCF and tier 3 materials and all these crazy stuff, but just something that would make more sense to have so many premium X-Men characters, and to have them kind of take up that special place in the game. Because more than any other type of character, if you look at the ratio, more X-Men, more mutants are paywall or native tier 2 compared to everyone else in the game, which are basically just all of the other characters. Part of that has to do with the fact that Netmarble kind of changed up their marketing strategy after 2 years in the scene, from an app perspective. But then also part of it has to do with just how popular the X-Men are, and the fact that people are willing to pay to get their favorite X-Men in a Marvel game because they were kind of locked out for so many years. So it's an interesting kind of situation to be in. I'm basically going to want to wrap this up by saying I hope we get a new game mode that goes along with this, or a revamped game mode that already exists, like Alliance Conquest or Alliance Battle Extreme, Alliance Tournament, something like that. But I'm always, you know, super hype for ICEMAN and this kind of weather-themed update with Storm. So hit me up down below in the comments. Let's have a conversation. Let me know what you guys think of ICEMAN, what you think of the Uncanny X-Men angle with Bishop and some of these other characters and uniforms. Subscribe if you enjoy the content and you want to support me. And of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.